Hello and welcome to another video. Today we have a whole guide for every Evelynn matchup, hopefully, and we're going to be going over the key points and whatever else. But before that, I would like to say that I've been asked this quite a bit about coaching. So for coaching, all you do is just add me on Discord, and it's like $15 per session at the moment, so that people actually know, because I've had many people ask me at this point. All right, so let's get into it. The first champ we're going to look at is Maokai. So with Maokai, I don't really have too many issues usually. If they're like high elo and the matchups start to matter a lot more in lanes, then sure, but otherwise not really. The general ways that Maokai players play is they do some kind of a tree camp, either on this side or on this side, and then they go for a gank, or they do a full clear. If they go for a tree camp into a gank, I mean, that's pretty obvious, so all you really do about that is just ping it, but otherwise, not really too much about it, right? If they go for a full clear though, then you have three main ways to play. So the first way is to full clear yourself. It can be okay, especially if you have pretty strong laners, and you can fight in river, and you can like collect scuttles, and you can play pretty consistent, and that's like fine. If you have more vulnerability, you think, or the lanes are gankable, then I think doing like some kind of a tree camp, for example, like this, and then going like mid or bot lane, or something along those lines can be pretty beneficial, because in these matchups, if you snowball against like Maokai or something, he doesn't really get to do much after that. So it can be pretty decent for you, especially because the champ by default has like a really high win rate if the game goes really stable, so can be pretty good. And the third thing is sometimes you'll have games where, say you started like here, or you started like here, whatever. Let's just say red side for this example, right? And you have like complete prio here and complete prio here. Maokai, if he started on his red buff and he goes to here, if he has a potion, then he's going to end up at Gromp with half HP. And if he doesn't have a potion, it's even less. So also because he uses every spell when he's clearing, in some scenarios, you can actually show up like here, or you can show up like, I don't know, here or something. You can actually kill them, which can be viable as well. So these are your main three ways to play in this matchup. As for warding, you don't really need to worry about it too much. What I would do here is just, regardless of what you're gonna do, except invading, I would keep my ward. And if you're planning to invade, then maybe you can swap to sweeper, but you can still stay on wards, and I would just clear whatever I'm clearing. And then at 4 minutes, I would just place 2 wards, and his game like becomes unplayable. Say something like this, if I get, it just becomes really hard for him to really gank anything. Alright, so next up is Udyr. With Udyr, we have two main ways to play. Because Udyr players generally full clear. The only two real ways we have to play is either a full clear of our own, so we do both sides of our jungle. So that's like something, right? And they'll likely end up doing that. I mean, some of the Udyr players will also do some stupid thing where they try to invade you or something. So you do have to keep that in mind somewhat, but most of the Udyr players just AFK full clear, really. The main issue here is that he kind of, if you don't get a lead, he kind of outscales you in a way. He also wins a lot when the games are stable, and he has an easier time getting a lead than you do, because he can always fight whatever he wants. So that is some stuff to keep in mind. So if the laners do allow it, then you can full clear. But the option I like a bit more is to, again, like Maokai, just look for some kind of a level 3 play if it is available. And if you get some kind of a level 3 play or something, then it becomes a lot easier to play. I haven't tried playing Udyr matchup with my new setup, I think, because at the moment I play with magical footwear. I'm just testing it, but with the standard electrocute sorcery setup that most people play, all you really do is you try to get a lead that's enough to get Sorks, and then you just fight them. As for wards, it's the same thing, where you just want to keep your wards, and then the only difference is that you might want to use one ward to make sure you don't get level 3 invaded somewhere, because he is quite a bit stronger than you. While he does end up being like half HP at some points in his clear, or even less if he doesn't know how to clear properly, you can't really abuse it, because by the time that you would fight him, he has W, and his W is like half HP shield, heal, magical journey. I don't even know what the fuck that spell is. Like, it's just broken. That's all it is. So yeah, that's about it for this matchup. It's not too interesting. You just try to snowball and avoid fighting him until you have a lead. Alright, so next up is Rammus. With Rammus, well, these guys have like a few really dumb clears, so they do. This champ is really boring to play against. So basically they can level 2 gank or try to level 2 invade, but level 2 invade isn't common, it's mostly level 2 gank. They can try to like level 3 gank, and some of them might even full clear, but full clearing is pretty rare. So most likely you're going to either level 2 or level 3 gank, and for that you're going to want to figure out which lane you're most afraid of getting ganked, like level 2, level 3, and you're going to want to ward that. So for example, ward here, or ward here. We're going to want to ward here, and it's going to help you a lot. Other than that, you don't really need to level 3 gank in this matchup. Obviously, if it's up, then you can, but full clearing is going to be fine here. You're going to end up with a lead, most likely, as long as you're pinging out his ganks and helping out with vision a bit. And you can try to counter gank at some points. And then all you really do is you transition into like playing consistent. You get some kind of a lead, and then you try to take as many of his camps as possible, because he's not going to end up being able to take every camp anyway. And at that point, you just get so ahead of him that you just snowball to the win. So this is one of those matchups where you kind of just lose if he gets a bunch of kills, and then you have to like make some kind of a miracle comeback. But if he doesn't, then it's whatever, really, kinda. Alright, so the next really boring champ to play against is Jarvan. So this champ, I recommend you just ban it, because its ban rate, his win rate, and his pick rate don't correspond to what they should be. For example, Elise has a lower pick rate than him, but she has higher ban rate, and I think he has he has higher win rate anyway. So it's just really disgusting, because they buffed him too hard for no reason whatsoever, even though the champ is really boring to play against. But okay, so Jarvan's paths, I don't know, let's say that he starts red, he can level 2 gank, he can level 2 invade, he can do, I don't know, some kind of a 3 camp clear, I don't know, level 3 invade you. So this champ is just annoying, it goes over every wall and whatever. The only saving grace in this matchup is that if you don't die to him early, the matchup becomes really free and it doesn't really do much. But the builds that these people go on Jarvan are really disturbing and disgusting. Like, they go either Gore Drink or Tank Mythic or something, and then, man, like, just thinking about it makes me sick. Then they go like, when you play Evelynn, they go like Ma second, and then they go like Zhonya or something third, and you're just sitting there like, what the fuck? And then they buy like a Gargoyles as well, and you're just like, oh, wow. Man. How can he build this and do anything? I don't know. Either way, against this champ, you're gonna have to do the level 2 ward somewhere in river. So you're gonna have to ask your laners to give you one and you use the other one or something, because otherwise you're probably gonna get invaded. Honestly, even after you do this, you're gonna have to adapt your clear somehow and try to stay safe, because if you get level 3 invaded, it's still going to be an issue. So you kind of have to try to track him, and if you think that you're gonna get level 3 invaded, you just like skip a camp. For example, if you did these 3 camps and then you do Raptors, if you think there's any chance that he shows up here at red and you don't have a ward to place like here or something, then just skip the red and just go Krugs and pull the Krugs like here. You do them like here, and then when this little nerd gets bored, he will like start doing this. I don't know, he's just a nerd. And then you go like this and you see, okay, is my red up or is it down? And even if it's up, it can be a bit scary, so I don't know. If you saw him somewhere on the map though, at this point, like if you didn't see him somewhere on the map and your red isn't gone, like the odds of him full clearing are so low that you might as well just walk all the way around this red buff or just skip it entirely. Like at that point, I don't know. Because the odds of him just sitting here like an NPC in this bush and just waiting for you are a bit too high. But yeah, as I said, I recommend just banning this champ at the moment. But yeah, this is about it for this matchup. Though later on, all you do is really just put a few points in charm. You charm him when he jumps in and he just dies, really. Okay, next up, let's look at Amumu. So Amumu's main clears, well, he does kind of like to full clear. He's not that common as jungle anymore. Sometimes they try to level 3 gank or something. You shouldn't really be too worried of invades though. The issue is, even though he does get lower in HP, he usually beats you, especially because a lot of these people play Conqueror or something. And when they do play Conqueror on Amumu, they just straight up beat you, because for some reason Riot Games decided that Amumu needs 2 Qs instead of 1, which is a questionable decision. But either way, you do the same thing where you finish your full clear and then you ward somewhere, and the game becomes pretty hard for him to play, right? At that point. If you get a level 3 gank off, that can be really good. Either way, when you get a lead in this matchup, you can kind of just bully him, really, until he gets... Well, it kind of depends what build he goes, but if you get something like Demonic, then you have to be careful, because something like him opening with Q, then doing like auto attack with its W taking in an E, and then ulting you, and then Qing you again, can actually pretty much be 100-0 at some points. So you do have to be careful about that. But other than that, no real issues. You're not that likely to win in this matchup, because he does have better presence without doing anything. But if you can find a way to snowball, then you just keep invading him, you take all of his camps, you kill him as well, and the game becomes really free. Nothing to really worry about in the first path though, like you can choose whatever you want, 3 camp, full clear, whatever really. Just make sure you don't do something like, I don't know, like full clear and then scuttle, and then, I don't know, base, and then full clear, and then, I don't know, like base. At that point, I mean, you're both gonna get level 6, but his level 6 is kind of gonna be a bit impactful. So, I mean, if you do end up doing this, you have to be really careful around bot lane, because either he's going to gank bot lane, or you're both gonna gank bot lane. And if either one of those happens, if you somehow get a losing fight in bot lane, the game can steamroll out of your control really quickly. But this is just the main way that you'll lose to that champ. Alright, so Fiddlesticks. I know a lot of you will really love this matchup. So yeah, this champ is pretty funny. I don't know why he has a pink ward sweeper on a 40-second cooldown after level 16, but I mean, sure, I guess, Riot Games. Okay, so this champ, like, they do either Raptor or Wolf Start most of the time, so this is the main abusable thing with it. So if you have pretty strong level 1 laners, you can actually invade him either way, and you are also kind of stronger than him level 1, as long as he doesn't get like the chain W spam, you know, like uses W on 5 people, then gets it fully off, then gets the proc, and then uses it again. As long as he doesn't get that, you're actually stronger than him. And yeah, if your laners are strong, then you can abuse that. If you don't get the level 1 invade, which you won't in most games, then really all that's going to happen is he's going to full clear and you're going to full clear. And nothing really too special. Maybe one of you will decide to level 3 gank if there's an opportunity, but generally the plan is just to full clear. You're going to try to scale a bit, and then you want to counter gank on his stuff. So when he tries to go somewhere, you want to counter gank it, like when he's ulting. Or you just gank where he isn't. Both are fine. It's going to be really hard to kill him though until you have Banshee, or if you have Tenacity. But the Tenacity rune in Preseason got nerfed, so that's not even worth taking anymore. Even before, it was like a bit questionable, but it was like pretty good against Fiddle. Especially if they had more CC in their team, it was actually worth it, I think, because you would be able to kill him. But now, since it got nerfed, I don't think you can even kill him. If the enemy has a lot of CC, I mean, I guess you could go Mercs, and that would make you able to kill him if you really need to kill him for some reason. But you're not going to do that most of the time. You're just going to go Sorks and get a Banshee at some point, and maybe you try to charm him or you try to combo him. But really, just avoid this champ unless you're counter ganking. As for wards, you don't really need to ward anything against it. Except maybe you can ward, like, I don't know, like a buff or something. If you can get a ward on a buff or something, then you can find out what his clear is, and it's going to be easier for your team to play since they usually go leashless. Or well, they pretty much always go leashless. So that can make the game a bit easier, but other than that, it's just that game plan. Alright, so we get to like one of the fucking Demon King champs, man. Elise. I mean, what is there to say about Elise? there's nothing you can do, basically. TLDR. If she somehow gets like, I don't know, some 3 camp clear, I don't know, let's say she does like this. Yeah, you're gonna say this isn't 3 camps, this is 4 camps, but she only does the big one, so it's basically a 3 camp. Or if she just does like an actual 3 camp, I don't know, like maybe she just does, whatever, man, it doesn't matter. Whatever she might do, if she gets a 3 camp, and then she walks bot lane, gets a double kill, walks mid, gets a kill, walks top, gets a kill, you can FF, basically. Like, all you're really doing at that point is just hoping that somehow she ends, and that either she does nothing for the next 15 minutes of the game, and you get to snowball off your teammates, or you're hoping that she just ends, and you get shut down or something. Or that you come back somehow later. This is really disgusting. It's also why I have been banning Elise for a while, though I'm moving on to Jarvan now, I think, since she still has a 30% ban rate. But we really, really hope that Elise nerfs and jungle kill XP nerfs somehow fix this shit, because, I don't know, this is just stupid. Your best chance to win against this champ is still either to full clear. I mean, she can also invade you, by the way. Like, keep in mind that some Elise players are like complete degenerates, and they do something like this, and they just go like here, and they stand like here or something, and they ward over this wall. And then they just wait for you to show up at like Gromp or Blue, and they try to kill you. Which is, yeah, I don't know. Some of them also do something like this, and they sit in this bush, and they wait for you. Yeah, don't ask. These people are something else. Either way, yeah, if you can get level 3 ganks off, that's really cool, but you're most likely gonna end up full clear, and the game will be decided by whether she gets a lot of ganks off or not. If she doesn't get like 1 kill per minute, it's winnable. Even if she gets like double kill bot lane, it's still winnable. But if she gets like double kill bot lane, then walks mid gets a kill, then walks top gets a kill, then I don't know, kind of an FF angle. After 6 though, this becomes pretty fine. The problem is her damage is really overtuned, so even after 6, even if she doesn't have a lead, she still one-shots you, kinda, so can be pretty disgusting. But honestly, it's just one of those champs you have to perma avoid and just try to survive against, and usually she's going to end up like ganking a lot, as I said, and if you can figure out her clear, you can probably take some of her camps, and after taking some of her camps, she's going to be kind of under-leveled, and you're kind of over-leveled. And as long as you don't throw Den, you should be fine. That's kind of the general idea, but maybe ask your team to ban this champ. Would be for the best. Alright, next up we have the Gragas matchup. In this matchup, they might choose to full clear, they might choose to level 2 or level 3 gank. Either way, they're full HP the whole clear, so there's nothing to really abuse for you in any way. So yeah, pretty cool, I guess. The main thing you're gonna have to think about in this matchup is the level 3 ganks that they do. That's why getting some kind of an idea on their clear can be decent, so maybe some kind of a deep ward early. Honestly though, not too much to say, it's just a standard game plan. They're not really gonna invade you, so some kind of looking for ganks combined with being ready to full clear is perfectly reasonable. I don't know, maybe like this also or something, or this or whatever else. Either way, not too much to say here. You're either going to void level 1 pretty late and try to get some kind of vision on his clear, or you're just going to keep your wards and then ward for the second clear. Yeah, you're gonna have to pretty much always charm him if you want to kill him, because that champion completely counters melee champs for whatever reason, because I don't know, it's just not really interactive. And as long as you don't get baited into their like combos where they place the Q down and then they try to E you and ult you into the Q. Wow, so funny, guys. As long as you don't get baited by that thing, you're really fine. Just follow your general game plan, you should be fine in this matchup, and not too much else to say. Alright, Rek'sai. So this one's pretty interesting. A lot of people really dislike this matchup, but finally one I can actually talk about and not completely want to scratch my eyes out. That's pretty nice. So this matchup, they usually do 3 camps and they try to gank or invade. Either way, it's pretty telegraphed, and all you really do is you ward against their level 3 invade, so either ward here or you ward you can ward like, I don't know, here or here, whatever. There floats your boat. Honestly, it's going to be pretty telegraphed though. Like if they have done red start and 3 camp and they haven't ganked yet, they're probably in your jungle. So that's pretty telegraphed. You don't need to level 1 ward. You're going to ward as you're clearing. And then at the end of your clear, you're gonna get another ward, and you're gonna like say ward for bot lane or ward for top lane or something, I don't know. And that's pretty chill. The same plan as Elise, but they're not as likely to get like 1 kill per minute, which is pretty good, since we don't exactly like to play against champions that tend to get 1 kill per minute. That's not exactly what we like. You try to take some camps, you try to get ahead, snowball, whatever. That's really cool. But the main thing that you need to keep in mind in this matchup is in mid game how to play, right? So let's say there's a dragon fight that's going to be starting, right? And they're like grouped up, say like here or something, and maybe they just like pushed out mid lane or something, you know, like this guy was like pushing out mid lane, and they're like grouping up like this, right? And the key thing is that usually the way Evelynn players will play is they'll play like here or something, or maybe they're like clearing, and then they will go like here, or they will go walk like this, and when the enemy like arrives at the dragon, they're going to like flank while their team is like here, you know, something like that. Or they're gonna try to go like here. But this stuff doesn't really work against Rek'sai, as that champ shows you, right? So I mean, it can work, but it won't always work. So the main ways to play against this champ are either to front to back. So if your team is pretty strong, maybe, I don't know, your top laner is like an engaged champ, he like goes in, and then you can just do damage, you can like W someone, maybe Rek'sai or something, and then you can combo them, and you basically one-shot at one person, and then you keep your spells, and then maybe you ult for damage, and okay, cool. But the other way, which is the more carry type of style, is that you prepare in advance. So basically against these champs, you want to predict what's gonna happen on the map, like 15 seconds in advance, and if you can predict like 15 or more seconds, like it varies. Sometimes it's like 5 seconds in advance, sometimes it's like a minute. I've done like 5 to a minute, and when it's like a really 1v9 game, I've done like 30 seconds or up to a minute, right? Where you predict what's gonna happen. And the way that you do this is you think, okay, so they're gonna go here, so I'm gonna stand here. And when you stand here, basically you're just saying, okay, if the enemy doesn't group up perfectly and realize the way I'm standing, then I'm going to just pop the person that walks here. Because they're relying on this, right? So it's false safety, the Rek'sai passive. So someone walks up, and you instantly combo them, and you pop them, and they just die. Or you stand like here, for example, and then this is also predicting how the enemy team is going to move in terms of moving along the map, right? Like if the enemy tank top laner is moving first, and they're jungler, then you're gonna want to stand here. Because then when these two like go in, right, and start taking this, maybe they like pinked here and stuff, right? Maybe like support plays here, and like mid lane to zone, the ADC is like DPSing. Look, you have a window again, right? So you try to make windows like these, and this makes the Rek'sai matchup a lot more playable when 1v9, and when you're not trying to solo carry the game, then you just try to front to back mostly. And you should be good. Alright, now we have this boring Nunu champion, I guess. So, level 2 ganks, level 3 ganks, level everything ganks, man. At least you won't get invaded too much. If it's Nunu mid or something, then you have to be really careful, because what these people do is they push out and then they just go to your buffs and they just try to Q them or something. Or on this side, it's especially dangerous because they roll a snowball like this, and then they show up here, and if you're on blue buff, then the snowball will actually most likely hit you as well if you don't react in time. And it's just half HPs and you just kind of die a lot of the time. So that's pretty bad, but jungle players don't really tend to do this in Nunu, though they could do this if they realize it, but most of them are pretty special, so they don't. Really, you just have to ping ganks, you have to like ward them a bit. And preferably, you just spam ping in this matchup, and as long as you survive the first clear, then you have 2 wards to deal with the second clear, and after that the game becomes a lot easier. Not really interactive. If they go phase rush and tank, then you can't kill it, because he takes too little damage and then he just runs away. And if he goes the AP build, then you can actually kill him with Charm, but it's still not really worth the effort. So yeah, honestly, I would mostly focus on just trying to gank laners after scaling for a bit, and we should be fine enough. Okay, so next up is Ekko. And in these kinds of matchups where you're playing against another assassin who's kind of scaling, the issue is that a lot of them kind of out-snowball you because your champ is a bit slow, but some of them you out-snowball. So here it's kind of like you're either completely even, or one of you just gets an advantage from snowballing or from scaling. So I think in this matchup, Ekko kind of gets an advantage from snowballing or scaling. So that's a bit of an issue. They can level 3 gank and whatever. You can also level 3 gank and whatever. But either side, well, you might also full clear, but Ekko players don't full clear that often, though they sometimes do, but they get pretty low when they do it. So sometimes you also have an invade option if they do it. I'm not sure exactly what HP they end up at, but I know it's not the best if they actually choose to do a complete full clear. Then with this, what we're gonna say is, basically, if neither of you hard snowballs in the first few minutes of the game, and you get to level 6, then it's just like, your main objective shouldn't even be to snowball yourself. Your main objective, in my opinion, in this matchup should be, well, I mean, obviously, if you're a lot better in the Ekko, then you can snowball yourself, but if the game is like more elo appropriate for you, then I would recommend that you try to stop him and counter gank his stuff. And if you can do that, like, if he counter ganks you, you're probably gonna get a really big issue. But if you counter gank him, then it can be pretty free. And the moment one of you snowballs, it's pretty free. Like, if you snowball, Ekko cannot play anymore because you can invade at any point. You're also perma-invis, and it's just not playable for him, right? Like, just look for invades after you snowball and it's free. If he snowballs, though, the issue isn't as much that he invades you, though technically he could if he snowballed by enough. But the main issue is that he ends up bursting way faster than you. Like, the problem is that your E has a cast time, so it makes every combo like half a second, pretty much. And your ult has delayed damage. And because of these two things, if you don't actually charm him, and maybe put a point or two in charm also, then he's going to always end up ulting out of your combos. So you can't really kill him. But if you don't ult, then he will kill you, right? So he doesn't need to ult without you ulting, but you have to ult without him ulting. So that's an issue. Alright, so then we have another matchup like Jarvan, but a bit less annoying. It's Wukong. So he doesn't invade as much, but he has kind of a similar kit, just perma gem per round, be unkillable, also has these really disgusting builds. At least doesn't go Zonya like Jarvan. That's something. But yeah, these people go some kind of a mythic, and then they end up going, like, they can go a bunch of items, they're like bruiser items, but they can also go a Maw second, which becomes pretty disgusting. If this champ snowballs into you and he goes Maw second, you're probably not gonna kill him for the rest of the game until you get like 6 items. But otherwise, it's pretty fine. It's really just, it's kind of the same thing as Ekko, like who snowballs first, though he has to snowball pretty hard for him to justify it. But as long as he doesn't get like a level 3 or something gank off, then you should be fine-ish, because after you're clear, you're most likely going to end up clearing as a champ. I mean, sometimes you can also level 3 gank. I mean, obviously, if there's a level 3 gank on the map, you can take it. But if you end up full clearing, right, that's what I'm talking about as the default here, then you just ward for his second clear again, right? You're going to end up with 2 wards, and if you just ward like this side of the map, then he's either, like, we're assuming that he started here, right? So then he's either going to go back here and like try to do something here, or more likely he's gonna go here again and try to clear his camps, because these are the ones that are respawning. And at that point he's like, well, I can't gank anything because it's all warded. So yeah, and then this buys you enough time to get to level 6, and once you're level 6, it's really fine. You have to be still careful of fighting him because he does really weird amounts of damage, and he's really tanky at some points, but not too much of an issue as long as you just learn how to fight him at that point. Alright, so the next one is the matchup that no one wants to play as Evelynn, and no one wants to see. It's Rengar. Probably the most boring matchup in the game. It's not even one that you lose so much. It's just really, 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 really boring. He invades you level 1, he invades you level 2, he invades you level 3, he invades you level 4, and you're just sitting there bored. So against this champ, I'm bored just talking about him, man. Like, either he goes here and he level 1 invades you, or he goes here and he level 1 invades you. So you're gonna have to either cover, or you're gonna have to ward against this. So you have to ask your laner to cover, or you need to have someone ward. And then if he doesn't have level 1 good laners and he doesn't level 1 invade you, okay, we got past the first hurdle. So then we have the second issue where maybe we do something like this, and he ends up doing, like, I don't know, some stupid clear like this. And he goes to your blue buff and takes this. So the second issue is the level 2 invade. So we can kind of deal with this by warding against it. You can like ward, and it kind of stops most of this stuff. So you shouldn't get level 2 invaded then. Or you can ward like here or something, I don't know. Whatever, man. Or like here. Or on your buff, or whatever. Either way, you ward something to prevent level 2 invades. Then the main issue becomes that he will still try to level 3 invade you, and if you do this and you actually ward it for a level 2 invade, then you don't have a ward. And the issue becomes that after he does this, which is the other standard clear for Evelynn, for Rengar players, he will go here and he will jump over and he will try to kill you. So 2 real ways to deal with this. The first way is to just do some kind of a reverse clear, like say this, right? Or maybe some kind of a reverse clear like this is also fine. I don't know. But you're not gonna go to Krux, you're gonna go to like this, and then you're gonna go to Krux if so. If you actually want to keep clearing, but you're probably gonna end up ganking at some point here. But these are the standard ones, but I think that an even simpler way to deal with this shit is to just go like wait, I'm trying to remember what my clear was exactly. Yeah, I think nah, I think it was actually this one. I think this is just what I was doing against it. I was doing like this. I was just doing this whenever I was pretty sure they would level 3 invade me like this, and they're too late in the timing. Like, by the time they get here, you end up being here, and all you have to do for this is level 2 ward. There is another approach. If you don't care about the level 2 invades and you don't believe that's gonna happen, then you can try to full clear, and when you're here, for example, you just ward here, right, like this push, and then you would walk like this, and you would do your next camp and your next camp, and that's fine. You can also just do these camps and skip the red buff and go here. That's also fine. You can do the same thing here if you want. There is quite an abundance of stuff you can do. It's kind of just about being creative on the first clear, because as long as you don't get demolished on the first clear, most likely these Rengar players are going to trip over their own ankles, so that's pretty fine. The scariest Rengar player is the one that actually doesn't flip this useless invade that every Evelynn player should know, and he just does like a full clear, and then he like gets kills anyway, and then that is kind of scary. But other than that, I'm not really too worried about any Rengar players. You can't really kill them at most stages of the game because he heals for too much. You either need to be really fed or you need to like get an Oblivion Orb or something, but man, who buys Oblivion Orb on Evelynn, man? So I don't really see the point of that. You can sometimes kill him when his W is down, or if he's low HP already and you're kind of it, so you can think about that. But most of the time you're really just going to avoid him, try to snowball through laners, and then you can actually start fighting him, especially when someone's helping you, because if someone is helping you, that champ becomes pretty helpless. But if it's like a 1v1, then I don't know, it feels like you're playing as a Grand Duelist or something. I don't know. Okay, now we have a champ that should have been a support and instead is in jungle for some reason. it's roaming around the streets of jungle instead of just being an enchanter like it should be. I have no clue why, by the way. It's like playing against Lulu in jungle. I really hope that they remove it soon or something. But yeah, we have Ivern. So this champ, it used to do these, I don't know, man. It used to do like these boring clears where it would do like this, this, this. Then it would like do red and smite it, and then it would do this, and it would go back, and it would claim all of these, and whatever else. And at that point, what you were doing was, a lot of the time, what you would try to do is something like, I don't know, clear whatever, and then you would just show up in his jungle and take this and this, and you would get a lead. At the moment, you can still kind of do that. I saw some people full clear on this champ now, so I'm not sure what the sequence is on that. But if you look up the sequence on that, it's probably like the same thing, man. It's probably like the same thing. You probably just do this, and then you probably just smite this, and you probably just end up marking this, and then, I don't know, like, something. Actually, you probably end up, like, marking this, and then going here, and marking and smiting, and then collecting everything. I don't know. Something like that. You do something anyway. You can look up how they clear, and the main punishment on the first clear is to really take their camps that are already marked, because that's just a waste of time on their part, and it's pretty bad for them, I think. Otherwise, you just take their camps later on, because they're not always going to end up full clearing. After doing a few camps, they end up ganking, and you have to ping those out, but after the second clear, you have like your wards to deal with their stuff, and now you can free scale until level 6. And it's pretty fine at that point. It's still really disgusting because shields hard counter your champ, but not really too much to say. You just play Evelynn like usual after that. Alright, so with Nocturne, what we have is sometimes level 1 invades, but not common. We don't have level 2 or level 3 invades, sometimes level 4 invades, so if you were to do something like a level 3 gank and then try to like do all of your camps anyway, they can actually show up. The main issue here is that you do break his spell shield easily and you don't lose too much for it, but the issue is that his spell shield gives him a lot of attack speed, so when he fears you and he gets attack speed and the AD from his Q and whatever, you actually usually lose 1v1, so you need your laners to help you if you want scuttles, otherwise you have to avoid him. And at level 6 it becomes really telegraphed usually to play, because the side on the map he's on, and the lanes that are gankable is usually going to be where he ults, and as long as you counter 1 or 2 of his ults early, you just pretty much auto-win here. Like, a really obvious one is, oh, they get level 6 and they're suddenly bot side, and then your bot lane is pushing. I wonder what's gonna happen, guys. So as long as it's even somewhat winnable, you just stand here, and he ults in, and then he just gets one shot, and then you're just like, well, guys, I guess we won the game. Then after you get a lead, you can just abuse him because he doesn't do anything after that, and it's kind of whatever. Not too much to say here. You just predict his ults and that's it. Okay, alright, so Zac. They sometimes full clear. A lot of the time they also level 3 gank or something. And really all you do is you hope that their level 3 gank doesn't work. Or you get your own level 3 gank, like there's not too much to say about that. And then after that, either way, what ends up happening is they're not usually killable because you can't get Charm off in time for cancelling his E, and as long as he can get his E off, he's not really killable, and he's kind of full tank and whatever. So all you really do is you just hunt his laners. You don't need to ward anything level 1. You can ward though against his level 3 ganks or something. So just try to get some kind of an idea of his padding if you're gonna ward level 1. If you're not gonna ward level 1, that's also fine, and you can just ward at level 4, and after you get like some good wards at level 4, you're just chilling. The wards are the same on the other side, of course. I've always been like marking from this side of the map, but if you're on this side of the map, it's just mirrored, right? So you could still do something like this or something, I don't know, and like this, I don't know, this, I don't know, something like that. Here, whatever. It's kind of the same. So yeah, and then after that, at minute 15, 20 and whatever, you just end up putting Charm on him every time he presses E, pretty much. Or you put Charm on him in the air, and the air can be even better because then he's committed to the fight, and suddenly he's like, surprise Pikachu face, and Evelynn is here, and then he gets one shot pretty much. So yeah, your job is most likely going to be to kill him in a lot of games, rather than your team killing him, because you actually have percentage HP damage, which is not too bad against him, and you shred him more. So yeah, killing engaged champs can be pretty good, and playing front to back can be pretty good as well on Evelynn, so don't miss out on that. But there are going to be games, of course, where you have to go for his backline also and whatever else. But yeah, not too much to say here. It's not too difficult to play. It's just the champ is usually overtuned and broken, so whenever that is the case, obviously, like some games, he will just win by stat checking. Bel'veth, another abomination by Riot Games, released in the recent times, and for whatever reason this champ is in the game, who knows? I don't think that Riot developers know either why this champ is in the game, but sure. So you can get level 2 or level 3 invaded by this thing sometimes, but a lot of the time they just either level 2 or well, not level 2, level 3 gank, or they just full clear. The problem with this champ is that it has like okay ganks while also being able to full clear, so it's pretty annoying to play against because there's too many options. While also scaling fine and snowballing and whatever, and being a reset champ, so yeah, I don't know, pick your poison. Anyway, you're gonna have to ping, you're gonna have to sometimes counter gank or something, but a lot of the time it's going to be the same plan where you just look for level 3 ganks if they're up, otherwise just full clear as per usual on Evelynn. For wards, you only really have to ward level 1 if the enemy has like pretty good invade laners, because she actually has a decent invade because she has 4 dashes level 1, so it can be pretty scary. So do consider some kind of a level 1 ward or warding a buff or something, also so you don't get cheesed as well. Also keep in mind that you have to like stand against these champs like this thing somewhere near raptors until they spawn pretty much, because you want to see if this special kid is just walking here and trying to take your raptors on level 1 while you hit your red or something, so that is something to keep in mind. Honestly though, just avoiding level 1 solves most of those issues. And then nothing really too important to mention, except you need to charm it to kill it, I guess. Like you can't really kill it without charm because the damage reduction E is too much. But other than that, you just have to keep in mind the timer for minute 5 to 6 for Dragon, if the guy does decide to somehow go for that. If he doesn't decide to go for that, then at 8 minutes, no matter what, life or death, be prepared to do Herald also. If he doesn't go for Dragon at 5 to 6 minutes, then what you can consider doing is something like a bot lane gank. And then you ping your support, you tell your support, whatever, come to Herald, please. And because you got some kind of pressure on bot lane, maybe your support can come to Herald. I mean, actually, you would do this more like 6 minutes or maybe like max 7. And then you would show up at Herald at 8 minutes, and hopefully you set up the lanes, and the lanes set it up in the way where you can actually contest this. And if you can contest this, you take Herald. It's really good. If you took both Dragon and Herald though, his game is like over, kind of low-key on the down low. If you took only Herald or only Dragon, I mean, preferably only took Herald, and that's like fine as well. As long as you contest this whenever possible, you should be fine, and then you just play standard. Okay, so Shaco. I don't know, he's a clown, but he's not really funny to play against, so that's interesting. Really, this clear and then ganking something or whatever is really common. This clear and invading you is pretty common. Honestly, some people won't even do the 3 camp Shaco clear, and they'll just do like red buff and go invade you anyway. I don't know, these people are ill. And warding isn't really too necessary against this, so you're gonna keep your wards. But just keep in mind that you can get invaded level 3 and you should be fine. You can't really kill him at any point because of his Q and his R. I mean, sometimes you can kill him, but he has to overcommit himself. Like, he has to go in, because if you find him, you're pretty much never gonna kill him. Because you can almost never kill him before he presses Q. And if he presses Q, he's pretty much out, because, I don't know, the champ is just way too safe against you. Like, you need some kind of CC to kill it, so if your support or something comes with you, that's fine. But since you don't have instant CC, good luck, man. Good luck. The good thing is, though, that your Q does show which one is real. Your charm also shows which one is real. And you can also click on them to see which one is real. And usually you can kill both the clone and the charm, or both the clone and the champ, because you have so much AoE damage. But yeah, just standard Evelynn plan and you should be fine. Okay, Nidalee, I think this matchup is the worst matchup in the game for you, by far. I don't ban it because there are barely any people who can actually play Nidalee, but if they can play it, it's probably going to be completely unplayable. They can level 1 invade you because she's not bad level 1, especially because she might have good level 1 laners as well, because they usually pair well with Nidalee. If she doesn't level 1 invade you, she can still level 2 invade you by jumping over walls. She can level 3 invade you by doing 3 camp and invading you. She can level 4 invade you. She can also beat you on Scuttle. She also beats you on every fight. She also beats you on every gank. She beats you if you're, I don't know. Okay, maybe if you get a really favorite counter gank, you win. But if she plays it properly, then you only win in that scenario. Really disgusting. Can't ward enough against it. You have to adapt your clear and you have to predict what she does. And she usually, I mean, you clear a bit faster than her on some clears, but she has so much mobility, terrain scaling, and scaling from AP and whatever, and snowballing, that as long as she's not having a horrible game, she will usually just out-tempo you completely. But as I said, every Nidalee player is pretty special, usually, because they can't play the champ, and because of that, it becomes like the most free matchup in the game. Like, they just do nothing, or if they do invade, they do like bad invades, and yeah, I mean, you just have to adapt to the champ, to whatever the person does, and as long as they're not too good, you just kind of scale for free, and at some point you become like way stronger than them, and they can't really do anything, kind of. And you just hunt them. When you're level 6 and you're not behind, you can just hunt Nidalee, and she can't really do too much. I mean, she can probably survive you, probably won't die, but she just becomes really useless. So that's kind of the idea here. Taliyah is kind of similar to Nidalee, but it's less annoying because she doesn't have invisible traps. She also doesn't invade at every single level in the game. I mean, she kind of does, but it's not as obnoxious invades. Like, Nidalee is completely off this planet, man. Like, she can invade like this, like this, like this, like this, like, oh no, man, like this. But Taliyah has the general paths that people can take, so that's a bit better. She also does gank a lot, and it can be pretty flippy. It's kind of like a ranged elise or whatever. But honestly, this champ is pretty difficult for most people as well, especially for junglers. They can't really play it, so it ends up being the same thing as Nidalee. If they're really good, then it becomes kind of difficult to play unless you get free snowball from lanes. It kind of depends on lanes. Nidalee matchup depends less on lanes because Nidalee can just abuse you even if her lanes are not the best. If they're horrible, then yeah, she might not be able to, but otherwise you can kind of cheat it. But Taliyah doesn't cheat as much, so it's a lot easier. But yeah, it's the same plan as Nidalee, really. Okay, Warwick. I'm not sure if anyone actually plays this champ. I don't know. I barely ever see this champ. I mostly see it in top lane. But if people do play it in jungle, then they usually were doing something like level 2 invades, level 3 invades, something like that. So all you really do here is just adapt with a ward against level 2 invades, and it should be fine enough. You just don't fight them, and then at some point you just become stronger because you outscale. And you just put charm on him in almost every fight, and he can't really play the game, and you're just chilling. Okay, Mastery. This champ is really interesting because the issue with this champ is that it does one thing and it does it way too well for whatever reason. Like, just right-clicking on you, trying to kill you, and especially with Bork and stuff, like, he just kind of runs at you like a complete smork. I don't even know. It's kind of dumb, but okay, whatever. Yeah, so that's something that's gonna happen with Yi if he gets anything, really. But if he gets nothing, he's completely useless. So, okay, how did these people actually get anything? Okay, so they do like a few clears. So they do like 3 camp and then some kind of an invade. They also do like a red into straight up invading you at wolves or something. This is kind of common, honestly. It happens quite a bit. You would be surprised. Invading you at wolves or gromp is really likely because he's really strong level 2. So honestly, at that point, what I would do is either wait for a level 2 invade, or I would just like skip a camp, like whatever, man. Or just ward like his side of the jungle, you know, like ward something like this. If you can ward something like this level 1 and you get actual vision, then it's really unlikely that he does anything because, I mean, maybe he does this. I don't know. But just pull your wolves to here and you should be fine. But yeah, if you see him not clear this, like not clearing this, and you also don't see him walk through this, and you also didn't see him like show up here, then most likely he's already sitting in your red side jungle, and that's probably going to be what he's doing. But some people also do like full clears or something on E, and in that case it becomes a really free matchup for you, I think, because you just put Charm on him and you just burst him whenever he tries to go in, and it's pretty fine. Really, all you have to do is just make sure you're not in his melee too long and you don't get like cheesed or snowballed on, and you're really good. And then you just scale and bully him with snowballing. Okay, so Kha'zix is the same thing as Ekko. You both just basically snowball. He can level 2 or 3 invade you. If he wants level 2, it's like kind of ill. They would go like Q and E, and some people might do this, but you're really almost never going to see that. Most of the time, if they do invade you, it's going to be level 3, and it's pretty common, but you just adapt a standard level 3 ward or something against it, and you're completely fine. And no real issues to speak of. Make sure you break this blast cone as well if you're doing blue buff at level 3, so it should help you a lot. Other than that, they sometimes full clear or something, or they like gank, and it's really just a snowball matchup like Ekko. If he snowballs really hard, then it can be pretty hard for you to play, because he kind of just bullies you, he kind of stat checks you with Maw, and he also gets to decide who's doing damage when, because of his actual invis, while you only have camouflage. And let's just say invis is a bit better than camouflage, but yeah. Other than that, if you do get a lead, then you just abuse him, and yeah, as I said, it's like the same thing as the other ones. Most of the assassin matchups end up being kind of like this, where if they get a lead, then it's kind of unplayable for you, but if you get a lead and they don't, then it's really unplayable for them. And if no one gets a lead, then it's kind of fine. And if both of you get a lead, then you can kind of play, but you can't really kill them. That's most assassin matchups, really. Okay, Karthus matchup. This matchup is completely horrible, despite what most people think. I mean, it can be okay if you have legit like 3 prio lanes, you have like full AD laners, and I don't know, your laners like are doing good and they're not dying to ganks also. I mean, in that case, yeah, it's a good matchup, of course, but I mean, that's just unrealistic. The reality of the situation is he can invade you level 1 anytime he wants, solo, with teammates, with weak laners, with strong laners. It doesn't matter because he's so strong level 1. Level 2, he can also invade you if you wanted to, but they don't do that as much. Level 3, they also don't invade too much, but they could, but they most likely don't. Like, some people might do something like this and then show up here, but it's really unlikely. The biggest issue is that if you ever start on the same side of the map as him, you just lose. Like, if you start here and he starts here, he will clear this so fast that when you're on like either Grump or Blue, depending on how you sequenced, he shows up here. So you can't full clear while starting same side as him. Also, if they don't go exhaust, then it's a lot easier to play, but if they go exhaust, then it's Wonka fucking ass, man. And they just basically get to do whatever they want. They just take your camps whenever they want. And if they get a lead here, then they end up taking double scuttle most likely, if the laners are either even or favored than him. Only situation this doesn't happen in is when you have better laners, but relying on better laners is not good for us, is it? Because we have 0 impact then. And then he, like, I don't know, then he scales, and trading kills is also bad with him because of his global ult that like damages everyone. And then he ends up invading you on your second rotation again, and it's just a disaster. So TLDR, what we want to do is make sure that we start on the opposite side of him so that we have options, either level 3 ganking or we can full clear or whatever else. Honestly, most of the time in this matchup, I prefer to full clear, because if I level 3 gank and it doesn't work, I am in a disastrous position. But as long as I can get like a full clear with Scuttle, I feel like I'm already doing pretty good, because I'm going to scale up a bit, and then at level 6 it becomes a lot more playable. But yeah, I think this matchup is really bad for you because it's really laner reliant. They need to help you. Alright, so these 1% pick rate champs like Skarner, Volibear, Poppy, Zin, Mordekaiser, Shyvana, Trundle. Okay, these ones I'll look at right now. This is for all of them. So all of these champs pretty much that I just listed, they do kind of the same stuff. They either choose to full clear or they choose to gank or invade. They kind of have options, but they're kind of not that amazing, and most like OTPs or whatever play them. And really they have like their own gimmicks. Like Skarner's gimmick is the shrines, and just don't fight him on the shrine, and you don't get perma CC'd by him, and you don't get pulled into a tower. Volibear's gimmick is tower diving, so you just prevent him from tower diving at some points of the game, and you kind of just kill them because they're both frontliners. Poppy's gimmick is canceling dashes, which is pretty annoying for you because it actually kind of counters you. And Zen's gimmick is kind of like not being hit by high range. But as long as these champs don't snowball, you do pretty fine into them because it's really just stat check champs. Like either they get enough stats where you can't kill them or they don't. And all you have to do is just make sure that you don't die like level 3 or something, and you should be fine enough. As long as they didn't go 1 kill per minute or something, you should be okay. So it's just standard Evelynn gameplay at that point. Okay, so let's go over Talon now. So Talon, a lot of people do like what the rank 1 guy does, where they do like 3 camps and then they either invade you or they go gank, or they go from here and they go to your red buff. And really this is the main thing that Talon does, just level 3 invade against you or level 3 gank. If he's not level 3 ganking, if he's not on the map, then he's for sure at your red buff and or at your blue buff, and he's just waiting to level 3 invade you. And as long as you don't die to him early, you clear better than him, you scale easier, you don't need as much of a lead. I mean, you do, but it's like easier for you to get it because of the perma stealth, and it's pretty fine. He's kind of like Russian roulette champ, so don't get cheesed, and you're doing good. You can also level 3 ward, so like when you're doing this, you can like ward here or something. When you're doing this, you can like ward here or something, and it can be pretty decent. But yeah. Also keep track of what summoner spells he has, because they can go Ghost, they can go Ignite, and they can go Flash. I mean, maybe even Exhaust, I don't know. I haven't seen Exhaust, but maybe. Makes some sense, I guess. So yeah, keep track of that and you should be fine. And then we have the other champ that's like the AD Assassin in jungle, which is Zed. This champ can also do like level 3 invade sometimes. But a lot of the time people on Zed just default to a full clear, and really all that happens here is you just want to keep up with him enough that you don't fall behind, because if you end up falling behind in this matchup, he can take all of your camps because he clears really fast, kind of like Diana. And what happens is that he outtempos you and keeps snowballing on you. So this matchup, I think it's actually better for you though. Nah, I don't know. It's like it's kind of even, I think. Because if both of you snowball, you can both kind of play. If one of you snowballs and the other one can't play, and if neither of you snowballs, then I think it's actually better for you. So I think the matchup is a bit better for you. But generally, it's just about that. Just make sure you're doing your camps properly. Make sure you're trying to like snowball at some point, like before him, like either you counter gank or whatever, you stop him from snowballing, or you snowball yourself, and you should be fine. And then after you do snowball, make sure you're invading and you're actually bullying him for it, because you can't do that much then. And also remember that your ult cancels his ult. Like it cancels the whole mark and it puts his ult on cooldown, so pretty good. Well, let's look at some of these other champs, like, I don't know, let's look at Vi now, I guess. So if we look at Vi, what ends up happening is this champ is like the same as a lot of the other ones. Like you have to be kind of careful for her showing up at your blue buff or something at level 3, so she can be sitting in, or like at your red buff, whatever, she can be sitting in these bushes, either by clearing her own 3 camps or by clearing like 2 of your camps and 1 of hers. So be kind of careful of this, otherwise she sometimes level 3 invades also, but really most of the time these people just choose to gank, and when they gank, you just obviously have to ward and ping and whatever, and as long as they don't get too fed off the early ganks, you then use the wards that you have at level 4. You prevent them from getting a second rotation kill, hopefully, and as long as they don't get a second rotation kill, then you're gonna get level 6 and you're gonna be in a pretty good spot, and it's gonna be fine for you to play, no real issues. Okay, so Lillia and Kayn I'm gonna treat the same, because they do the same thing. They level 1 invade your raptors and they cheese you, and then they either try to smite this away or they steal it if you start with blue, or they just like walk away and like do their own camps, whatever. Other than that, they usually just full clear, unless they're looking for some like level 3 or something gank, but I mean that's also possible, but a lot of the time they default to full clearing along with some cheesing, and as long as you don't get cheesed and they don't get like 10 kills from ganks, you should be pretty fine in this matchups. Really, you just have to understand how their champs work, so like how to fight them. And if you figure out how to fight these champs, so like how to avoid getting one shot by Kayn or something, or how to avoid like Lillia completely kiting you or something, then you should be fine. As for wards, the best wards against these champs are like level 1 wards, so that you prevent yourself from getting cheesed. I don't know. And that's all really. Okay, alright, so let's go over Lee Sin. In my experience, I mean, Lee Sin technically could invade you or whatever, but in my experience, the most common invade for a Lee Sin is the level 3 invade, where they do like 3 camps and they show up in your jungle. So again, apply the level 3 wards. Let's say like the ward here is a level 3 ward, the ward here is a level 3 ward, and these can be pretty decent. This is also a level 3 ward, and this can also be a level 3 ward. So apply level 3 wards, some caution. Obviously keep track of where he started, and keep track of like lanes and when he should be ganking, right? Because if these champs aren't ganking at like 230, 240, then most likely they're looking for something else, right? Like either they're full clearing or they're coming to you. Are they going to full clear? Sometimes, yes. Sometimes even Lee Sins or something are going to full clear, but a lot of the time, because you're playing Evelynn, it's gonna end up being coming to you, and that's all really. For Lee Sin, the only thing to really keep in mind is that he pretty much one-shots you at most stages of the game earlier on. And he also isn't killable if you go into melee. You have to like charm him, and then you have to Q him from range, because if you try to E him whenever you're both level 6, or at least he's level 6, and he always just ults you away and you won't kill him. Other than that, I don't think there's too much to say about this. Yeah, no, I think that's about it. Like, it's not too interesting of a matchup, really.